Reece Register is a frame breaker by every sense of the word. Reece is on a mission to prove that customer experience is the ultimate customer acquisition and lifetime value investment for property managers. It reminds me a lot of my mission of proving that community creation is the future of business development, right? Like, while I believe community sits at the front end of client acquisition, customer experience sits on the back end of that front end as the flywheel to build the most attractive businesses in the world. And Reece is bringing it to you as a property manager with his CX school, CX cult, something that I've joined, I've invested in. I wholly believe in it. But listen to Reece. Reece has got some really interesting thoughts here on the org chart that you should be building and what you should be doing for your clients that will build a super profitable, undefeatable property management business. Enjoy this conversation with the effervescent Reece Register. Welcome to the Property Management Frame Breakers podcast. I'm your host, Pablo Gonzalez, and I am here to introduce you to the folks in the property management space that have broken the frame of what you may believe was possible. This podcast is presented by Vendoroo. It is your all-in-one AI solution for resolving your maintenance needs. Let's go. We just talked about like having a big vision for things. What's the big vision? Like what, you're the experienced guy, right? Like I get it. I think I intuitively get it. I've read The Experience Economy. I believe in experience over everything as the world becomes more digital and AI and blah, blah, blah. It's all part of my POV, but you tell me what the big deal is.
So the big vision for me is I feel like the customer experience is really right now in the infancy stages of what businesses are focusing on. Right now, most people think when you think reputation and CXO, people think Google reviews. Some people may think Yelp. You go a little bit deeper, maybe even think like Glassdoor, where you're hearing from the internal components of it. My big vision for CXO Works is compiling all of that. Like truly, what do people feel? And as I'm starting and working with companies and installing all of the CXO Works, my big vision is one day there's going to be, when you log in and you go to Tampa or Jacksonville, you log in and you go look at what is their Works rating. How are their employees loving it? How did their customers love it? If I'm coming from out of town, I want to be treated like I'm walking into the Ritz-Carlton to go get my oil changed at the 10-minute oil change. Like I want business to truly transform the way that they operate every day to elevate to a level that really you have no competition.
Why? Like why, right? Like, yes, I get it. You're building Works, so you want everybody on the Works rating. What's in it for me, bro? If I'm a business, why do I need to buy into this?
Because marketing and ad spend are slowly going away. Your reputation is where you're going to make money in the future. Social proof. People are not going to buy your products or services unless somebody else said that they're good. So give them a reason to spread that. My favorite phrase is how many brand ambassadors can you actually create by the customer journey that you put them on? How many raving fans? In the past, it's how many salespeople. How big of a sales team can we create to go meet as many people as possible? What if everybody that ever come in contact with you, whether they purchased something for you or not, was an actual salesperson for you? And that doesn't happen by accident. You have to design it that way so that you're not just a business, but you're a brand.
Yeah. This is why I see you as a kindred spirit, right? Like my mission over the last 10 years off of an insight at my brother's funeral was the value of community and how community is like the lever for business development. And as what I have learned over time in order to be successful doing this is that when you are trying to convince the world to go from one state to another, you need to be very, very clear about the why now, right? And the why now generally comes when you wrap it in, there's been a context change. And this context change has created a new missing, right? It's either a vacuum for where it changed from, or now there's just like a missing little bridge that can get you to that next thing that you've always wanted to get to. Yep. And when I talk about community, it's very similar to what you just said. The idea that in like the 60s, we were seeing like 17 ads a day. In the 90s, we were seeing like 200 ads a day. Today, we're seeing 10 to 20,000 ads a day. And now AI is coming. It's creating even more noise. It's creating all this in the ecosystem. And word of mouth is and forever will be the most powerful way to acquire a client. So if we build a community of people, and when somebody finds out about you, they find out about you and they immediately can access 10 people to tell you how great you are. There's just never been a more powerful way of acquiring a client than two people that are all in on you talking about you while someone else debating if you're cool is listening in and you're nowhere to be found. Right. So like I
Yep.
see you doing the same thing
Yep.
via customer experience. Right. So
Yep.
it feels like a very similar motion.
I almost like look at it as, cult is short for culture.
Yeah.
Like you've got to create a culture around your business so that people want to be a part of that. The other side of what I do is I actually run a 501c3 nonprofit Jeep club here in
Yeah.
Tampa. And I think I learned a lot about cult and culture through that journey because I was like, man, this community can be so powerful. Why are companies not really embracing the same thing around that, around their business? Like people are part of the team versus paying someone to give them a product or service.
Same. I learned my stuff by starting a young professionals group for Habitat for Humanity and then getting on the board of Habitat and being on the board of multiple charities and using that same kind of like thing,
Yep.
right, to like recruit
Yep.
people and bring it in, man. So talk to me about how does this fit into property management, right? Like I'm not I see it, right? Like I see a world where like the understanding with AI is essentially that hard is going to be the new easy and impossible is the new hard, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So like I see a lot of the stuff that right now is the thing that we do. Like we just do all these hard things that people don't want to do for themselves, right? Like so now we're going to have to think about this new impossible that needs to become like the new thing that differentiates us. And I see a big need for something like experience being that new moat and being
Mm-hmm.
that thing. Like I see a very clear path towards property management needing to be more like hospitality companies. Where have you seen this? Like how did you get this insight?
Yeah. So when I run a property management company in 2018, is where I started in 2018 to 2022.
Yeah.
We had a property management company here in Tampa that was 350 doors. I walked in, zero experience in real estate, zero experience in sales, really. I ran big box, Sam's Club, Walmart stores. Walked in and we were having our level 10 meetings with all the leadership team, and everybody kept saying the word service, service, service. And I was like, service is getting us nowhere. And I can remember it to like it was yesterday. I said, we need to focus on what they're actually experiencing when we give them a service. And everybody in that room shifted a mindset from that point, from the unified language that we use, how we responded to people, the the barriers that were in front of a customer to work with us. And what we did with that, every element through the customer journey, we focused on what they wanted, and we grew that company to be the highest ranked property management company in the entire state of Florida. And it wasn't because we went to every NARPM conference and installed every playbook that everybody tells you to do and everybody's doing the same thing. It's because we didn't do that. We did what the customer wanted and we built the business around that, and we made a brand out of it. A brand so good that a national company wanted to come in and they were like, wow, reputation's already there. Their customer service and experience is already there. Their employees are A+ players across the board. We want to buy you. And that's what happened. So I live by that. You create a culture inside out with your employees down to really what your customers want and limit the barriers and make them feel good. It's the only growth lever you really need in the future.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, man. What I like about what you just said is something that I think is non-obvious. Obviously, going to NARPM events, and I hope, are you going to nationals?
I'll probably sneak over there right down
Cool.
the road.
Cool. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Obviously, going to NARPM events, obviously going to property management conferences is instrumental for the growth of a property manager and the formation of an entrepreneur. And you need community so that you're not crazy and like, and you can take different things. But one of the things that I think is really underrated is the idea that when we're at these places, we're really focused on it's really our competition, right? Like we're
Mhm.
focusing on what other people are doing that do stuff like us. That is
Yep.
technically our competition, no matter how much community that is and how much we don't compete, over
100%.
territory lines. Whereas obsessing over the customer is something that is really, really underrated, right? Like
Yeah.
that's another reason why I think community is so valuable, because she who is closest to the customer wins, right? Like
Yep.
the more that you are working from the problem that you solve for others. And the only way that you do that is by living in market, being in a full contact sport in your business, right? Like
Yep.
the statistics around CEOs, the amount of time that CEOs spent with clients is like astronomically low versus the amount of time they spend with their team and all these other
Yep.
things, right? So like being the lever that creates the insights that allows you to, like that creates wayfinding points for you to navigate your business toward your customer, I find really, really crucial. And nobody really talks about that, man. Like,
Yep.
so you have experience doing this internally inside of property management. I would say Second Nature is another company that like thinks of this deeply inside of property management, right? Like they are somebody else that designed a category because they changed the context. Where else are you driving inspiration from for like what works and how this happens?
Yeah, so I pull a lot from hospitality industries. I spend a lot of time in restaurants locally, high end, all the way down to the mom and pop. Like, what are people doing and finding those little moments on how I feel? A couple
Yeah.
of the other like clients I have is one is a automotive customization shop. And the first month that I was there, it was kind of interesting. The owner of the business was wondering why I didn't spend most of my time with employees, that I was always up front talking to customers.
Yeah.
And he's like, because the CX mindset is very, very different. So when I did that, and then I came back to him, 4 weeks later, after 4 weeks of talking to customers, I was like, well, here is what your customers are not getting. They're
Yeah.
having to wait. They don't have a comfortable spot. They're not seeing fun and exciting. They're when they talk to this person versus talking to that person, they're not getting the same message. So we look at all those elements from the customer standpoint, step back into the operations, and same thing you would do into property management, and
Mm-hmm.
design what we're doing around what they want and what they feel. And you go back to like what you're talking about with the NARPM conferences, and that's all of our competition. I think NARPM's great. Like that is your foundation. Like that should be like your baseline. Like what is right, what is wrong, what other people are doing, how the industry's moving. But you can't be in first place doing the same thing that everybody else in that room is doing. I grew up, there is only one first place trophy, and participation awards don't make it into the case. So if you want to be different, you've got to take that foundation and you've got to put a ton of whipped cream and that cherry on top that makes you different so that your audience can see it. Otherwise, they're going to your website, your competitor's website, and they're all screaming the same message. They all feel the same. And then they're racing towards the bottom on price. Why don't you look and feel different so that people are excited to come to you and you never have to put that big glaring marketing message out there?
I can't believe we've gone this long without me mentioning category design. Are you familiar with the concept of category design?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah, cool. So just like different will always stand out in the brain over better, right? Like and differentiation in a service industry like this is so key. All right, man, let's give some value. What do property manager clients want?
Property management clients want to grow. Like that's the one thing, like when they step into a room, they're like, we want to grow. What do they default to is how do I
Yeah,
make my operations better so that I can grow?
yeah,
And I think there is an element to that. So what they really want is to make their job easier so that they can scale up. But
yeah,
sometimes it's not always about making your job easier. It is turning the tables and saying, well, maybe instead of adding a step, I need to actually remove a step.
yeah,
They need to talk to their owners. They need to talk to their residents 10 times more than they're doing currently.
yeah,
And we do that by looking at all the elements inside of the company and saying, where are you wasting your time? When I call a company and the phone tree's like 12 dial buttons long before I can talk to somebody and you're going through
yeah.
that, I'm like, all right, I'm already frustrated and I haven't even said the first word of why I'm calling. So looking at elements inside of that, but property management companies have to understand you're going to have to design that totally different. You're going to have to spend a little bit more money to get to that, maybe versus marketing. You spend it on designing these processes and investing in your people so that you can give the customer what they want and turn every one of those into a brand ambassador. When I was at Rent Scale and I was talking to BDMs, I always used to tell them every Google review you get is your next salesperson. That's the way you need to think of it. So go earn those, get that review. And then when you go to the next on-site appointment, you're talking to a potential owner, you've got 500,000, 1,500 five-star reviews behind you. All those people are literally behind you shouting, you should work with this company. Like that's
Yeah.
kind of the evolution in the ecosystem and the community and culture that you have to install and create.
I love how you answer that. because sometimes I ask a question looking for something and then I gotta, like you're answering a different thing than I asked. I'm like, all right, great, let's dive into this. I want to go back into what I was originally asking, but first, it sounds like you're saying kind of like the first lever of value that you provide, or at least the first step for a property manager to start understanding how to build a better customer experience is thinking deeply about how they can reallocate resources, be it time, money investing, staff, into like time with clients, right? Like time
Correct.
with owner, time with resident. We believe time with vendor is a really, really big thing too, right? Because vendors really move the needle in property management.
Yep.
How do you do that, man? Like, how does somebody that is you know what the property management lifestyle is, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
like how do you talk someone sufficiently far off the ledge to get them to sit down and think about doing this?
Yeah, and it's hard. I've had several consultations with PM clients across the United States, and they all ask that same question. Like, okay,
Yeah,
I get the concept, but now what do I do? And I was
yeah.
like, okay, you start with wrapping everything around the EOS process so that you have the needle moving the way you need to. So what we do is we actually come in, and there's 5 steps of our customer journey: the consideration, the purchase, the service, and the loyalty. Like wrapping that all together so we can see where there are obstacles at. And then we do the same thing for employees, because a frustrated employee is also not going to give the greatest customer experience also. So
Mm.
we step into a company and say, hey, we're going to take what works well, that NARPM's telling you is fantastic, and we're going to pull that back like a slingshot before we move forward. It freaks people out. So the way I talk them off the ledge is say, what would you do if you were the number one ranked property management company in your market? Like, how would that feel when you laid down and slept in your bed at night? You go to
Mm.
dinner with your family and you're like, we're the crap, man. Like, we're getting leads like crazy. I got a call from the mayor last week. They want us to come down and do this. We're doing Habitat for Humanity this weekend. Like, how good does
They're
that
asking us what tenant law should be.
exactly? I
Yeah.
was like, that's how you do it. And the one thing that I always say is we're going to measure excellence. That's our lever. We don't measure Google reviews. We're not going to measure revenue. We're actually going to measure excellence. And it's a combination of all those things to say, what is our position in our brand? So I kind of put them in that future eyeball, future self type of mentality. Like, where do you truly want to be? And how does that feel if that's what the newspaper headline said tomorrow? That ABC Property Management just donated $50,000 to a family that lost their home in the hurricane. When you're able to do that, that's how you measure excellence.
Interesting. So you change the vision, right? Like you change their future state from like whatever they can see in the horizon to that big ideal state. And then that allows them to like rethink it, right? Like I
Yep.
echo with that a lot, man, because I'm, as you know, I'm in the AI space and like I do very much believe that we're in this moment where everybody is in like the first week of freshman year of college, and it doesn't matter how cool you were in high school. Whoever builds AI first will win the next generation of property management.
100%.
So it's super exciting for the up and coming startup, but for like JWB, right? For like my friends, I'm like, guys, like you really need to sit down and think about like, yeah, okay, you've spent 4 million bucks on Salesforce, but is that really the platform you want to be built on right now? And what will it
Yep.
what will it be to change, right?
Yep.
Like that type of thing. And I've struggled trying to get people into this. What will it take for me to stomach the cost of change management, which is really, really hard? I do believe in specifically what you're saying and on the community side, right? Like I was having a similar conversation with our team about experience, right? And on the adoption curve of specifically agentic AI, right, which is this no longer just kind of like a better way to do things, but it's like a something that can do something for me so I can do something else. There
Yep.
is a missing layer of change management that needs to be present, that I believe we need to create as a bridge, right? Like our best clients, they have somebody that's like super into the AI thing. They want to be the AI czar, technologist. Our clients that struggle the most just don't have that person. And I'm like, I think if we were to reallocate budget from, instead of the next 2 people that we hire, salespeople, the next 2 people we hire are these like AI implementation coaches that are literally just there to help you get better of your business, whether or not it's inside or outside
Yep.
Vendoroo.
Yep.
I think that Like that's the resource reallocation in my head for us, right? Like what does a typical resource reallocation for you guys look like? Once you get the owner into that future state, they're like, I'm ready to rethink my org chart into a value chart instead of a task chart. And like what are you seeing people reallocate resources into that a property manager today can start like, cooking on?
Yeah, and it's going to come down to the customer service team. That's, I mean, I know it sounds like very generic and
Yeah.
it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it really does. Like, if you can make sure that every step in your process is not barriers, it's not obstacles, there's no friction, and everybody's running smooth, and you have more time. Give more time to the people that are actually paying you, your residents and your clients,
Yeah.
and ask them how everything's going, and then go back and redo what you've done to keep getting better at it. It's that install, master, upgrade, just constant process. So I would say for property managers out there, and the other thing we do is we actually bring in a what we'll call a VP of operations for implementation stuff on everything that we do as part of our team. So for us to grow that company and then say, all right, we've made your operations more streamlined and we're giving the customer what they want, let's spend more time talking to the customer. Because if you read Unreasonable Hospitality, that's one of the
Yeah.
principles behind it is you don't need to see an NPS score. You don't need to see your Google reviews. You actually need to be in front of them and talking to them. And if they want something, if they want to call and talk to somebody, remove the phone tree. If they
Yeah.
want to text you, give them a way to text you. Like, don't make this, hey, we'll respond in 24 hours. That drives me crazy in the industry now. Like, we'll respond to you in 24 hours with the issue you have. Your customer doesn't want to wait 24 hours, so don't make them wait. Install systems like with Vendoroo or whatever processes that allow you more time to say, you have an issue, I'm here to solve it. I may have not had a phone call the last 2 hours, but our systems are so dialed in when you need us, I'm there for you.
Thank you for that. I think you just explained the most misunderstood piece of like the AI part, right? Like it's like we have historically been told by the market that we're not giving them what they want. And one of the things they scream loudest about is 92% of owners expect a response same business day, right? Like some within an hour, some within a couple of hours, but like 92% same business day. And we're sending people responses 24 to 48 hours later when having a voice agent phone tree, like you're talking to a voice that sounds human. Sure, that doesn't count as a response that they are asking for, but it takes away so many of these 20-minute phone calls that you don't have to do, right? Like
Yeah,
that you now can get back to people, right? Like, and you can
yeah.
provide that. And it's such low-hanging fruit, man. You mentioned unreasonable hospitality, and it made me immediately go into my Apple Notes and look up my notes on unreasonable hospitality because one of the things and it really echoes with what you're saying. One of my favorite concepts in that book is this idea that they started a position of dreamweaver, right? Like that, like they have staffed up a department that is literally their job is to walk around the restaurant, hear people's conversations, and then try to figure out how to make something special happen for them at some point by the end of the meal.
Yeah.
Like, holy cow, man.
Insane.
It's insane. What is a version of that for property management? Like, I imagine that
Oh
you're
yeah.
clearly a visionary. You've clearly maximized that. What's a version of what is your ideal version of unreasonable hospitality for a property manager?
So I'll just like we'll look at one element in the
Yeah.
sales element. When you're a new client's calling, should I work with you or should I not? You know, they're going through the interview questions. Everybody's got this. This is how you should ask. This is what you should do. But if you're really like that person walking around the restaurant, like when I'm listening to that call, I'm listening to, do they like Jeeps? Are they a Tampa Bay Bucks fan? Like, what is one element inside that phone call that I can catch really quick and put an emotional connection to this person? So when you're on that phone call and you hear that somebody likes Jeep, as soon as you hang up the call, instead of going and typing in a bunch of notes on your CRM and doing all the checklist and trying to get to the next call, have an Amazon account set up and go buy them a $10 something, type in their address where they're at and send them a Jeep gift that's overnighted. And they
Yeah.
get that and they open it up and they're like, oh my gosh, this guy actually listened to me. I don't remember what he said he was going to charge. I don't remember
Yeah.
how they're going to lease my property. I have no idea what maintenance looks like, but that guy listened and we got a connection now. That's
Yes.
the elements to do it. And it happened in real time. I was working with a client here in Tampa, and the guy said, we're moving because we're having a baby, but y'all can come meet us at our house in a week and before we move. As soon as I got off the call, I heard it and I was like, get down to the store, buy a box of diapers. And for that on site, you walk in with a box of newborn diapers. Whether they like
Yeah.
them or they're not diaper people, it doesn't matter. but you
Yeah.
heard what's going on. They signed that client, and that guy brought his whole family over that had investment properties too.
Hell yeah, man. That dude, I love that story. And that makes me think of two things. It makes me if I was talking to my buddy Chapin, who is a key renter Boise, and he was telling me like him and his partner always are like, man, wouldn't it be cool if we did this for this person? And then they're like, yeah, but how do we operationalize it? And how do we do this for everybody? And I was like, Chapin, why don't you and your partner just have an agreement that you have a $2,000 budget every single month or once a quarter? That is like when you have a great idea of something epic you can do for one person, you tap into that budget. And he's like, dude, I never even thought about it. Guy literally called me up like a month later. He's like, hey, my partner just did it. It was awesome. And it just got it. Right. So it's like, it's surprisingly easy to operationalize if all you need to do is create some level of boundary, like just a slush fund. Maybe it's $100, maybe it's $500, but everybody in your company knows if you see an opportunity to do something epic for somebody for this amount of money, this many times a quarter, go do it. Right. And like grease the wheels. And then as I was looking at my unreasonable hospitality notes, it went into this toolkit of like how to scale improvisational hospitality. And there's like moments, right? Because you said having a baby, right? Like you can have like, what do you send people having a baby? What do you send people that are planning a new vacation? What do you send
Yep.
people that just moved to town? What do you say? Like I have hangover cure in here because they're a restaurant, right? So they hear that, right? Like, what is the every time that you do something nice for someone that has like one type of condition, boom, that's in your SOP of like, here's a perfect idea of someone that likes Jeeps. There's a rubber ducky that of the Green Hornet or whatever. That's a rare
Yeah.
one. I don't know, right? Like, so anyway, sorry, man. I get really excited. As I talk to property managers, this idea of customer experience, this idea of creating these things around unreasonable hospitality, that is what they continually tell me they want to be doing in their business. But they either don't have the bandwidth to think about it or they just don't have the people to execute it on. And this is what we are talking about when it comes to AI. Let AI handle the mundane things that anybody could do so you can build a team that can orchestrate these types of things. At Vendoroo, we have successfully automated 95% of maintenance coordination, meaning 95% of maintenance work orders get through, handled without a human having to touch it. For many of our clients, the goal here is to get your people from working on low leverage, unfulfilling, task related activities to high leverage, fulfilling, value driven activities. That's the whole point of using Vendoroo. It's the whole point of why AI should be adopted in property management, agentic AI specifically. So if you haven't done it yet, go to vendoroo.ai and start building out a customer experience that you've always wanted to by giving your team the opportunity to do it. Go to vendoroo.ai.
That's the mindset you have to have. Is it doesn't have to be like you almost put guardrails on it. Like here's our guardrails, but here's your freedom to go down that path. And in that book too, they talked about the couple that was sitting at the table. They were scared that their parking meter was going to expire, so it was going to ruin their dinner. They took 50 cents, walk out. The server walks out, pays the meter so that they could stay longer. They're delighted. They spend more money because they don't have to rush out of the restaurant. And it's just such those little things. And I envision a world where we do the same thing with residents. They fill out this application of all their financial situations. What would it look like if there was one extra box that said, "Hey, tell us a little bit about, your hobbies. Tell us a little bit about what's going on in your life." And when they move into that house, when they move from Texas to Jacksonville, that there's a little $25 welcome box that has something that's emotionally tied to them. Yet we only look at as checking boxes on what we need as a property management company. But how cool would it be to see what is their emotional needs? Because this is a big move of somebody moving houses.
That doesn't sound like it takes a lot of resource reallocation, Reese. Right?
It
Like,
does.
right?
It doesn't. It's
Yeah.
just we don't think that way. We're a very property management is a very operational driven segment of the industry.
Yeah.
And that is exactly why I study outside of the industry to bring those components in. I have a healthcare client. That's exactly what they do. They have someone move into a nursing home. Part of their questionnaire is like, what is your favorite thing to do? What did you like doing growing up? And they have full authority guidelines to spend $50 per resident that comes in to find something that makes them feel like home. And I'm like, well, if they feel like home in a nursing home, why does our residents don't feel the exact same way? Because if a resident's happy, they stay on time, they stay longer, they're going to take better care of the property. And guess what? They're a Google review, which is your next step to get somebody else to look at you.
Yep. Yep. As we are freewheeling and dealing here and like ideating in public, right? Like $50 budget for every resident that moves in to do something nice for them. Standard question that is like, what is your biggest passion? What's the standard question? What would be the ideal question to put in there?
Yeah. What is your hobbies?
What are your hobbies, right?
That's
And then
so open-ended.
every time that somebody answers a hobby, you do something for that hobby, and then you keep the list of what you did for that hobby. And now for every new hobby that comes in, you just have a go-to manual that continues to feed itself. Not that
Yeah,
hard,
no,
right? With an
no,
Amazon link that you just click, click, done, right?
and
Not that
done.
hard.
And that literally could be your marketing budget. Like if you did that for both
Correct.
residents and owners and you're stacking on Google reviews, because in the world we live in currently, I know it's building to something else, but when you're the number one rated Google review in your market, when somebody types in Tampa property management,
Mm-hmm.
that's your marketing budget now. Like, and to have the most, at the very least, you're going to have the opportunity to have a conversation with that new potential client.
I love that. Something that you've mentioned a couple times that I'm very passionate about. We just kind of touched on it. This idea of cross-contextualization. I had Mark Cunningham on the show like a month ago. Interview went so well that he published it on his own podcast. So I just re-listened to it. I was like, well, this was a good interview. This is great. And one of the things that he talks about there is that he gets ideas from outside property management in order to do it. His routine is every day he reads the Wall Street Journal and is looking for what can I borrow from this other thing. For
Yep.
us, in my company and Be the Stage, we have a core value that is customer fascination, right? Like we incentivize learning from our clients, something that they do that we could then do in our business or teach somebody else to do in their business, right? So like there's so much stuff that I've taken from JWB and try to implement myself or shared it with others. I just, one of our clients over there is Lenovo, and we're helping them with their like Gartner events. And he just had like a kickoff call for this like big Gartner symposium that we're helping him out with. And I was looking at his PowerPoint. I'm like, we need to do this for NARPM Nationals.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I feel like once you take the blinders off and you start seeing the value everywhere, like you can see it from, yes, other people in property management, but you can see it from everybody that you do business with. You can find it from your vendors, you can find it
Yep.
from like your customers, from your owners, stuff like that. Do you have like, it sounds like you work across multiple industries, so you get some of that and you can cross contextualize that. But the way that Mark Cunningham said, like reads the Wall Street Journal, what is your like input for that? Are you like for me, it was in the nonprofit world, I was networking all the time, right?
Yep.
So it's just like that was my input. What is yours for like finding inspiration for new ideas to cross contextualize?
So this is going to sound absolutely ludicrous and ridiculous, and I love
Man.
it at the same time.
Yeah.
The Jeep world puts me in contact with so many different types of businesses and situations and companies that do different things.
Yeah.
It literally exploded. I mean, I have done grand openings with the mayor because of the Jeep Club and just learning different businesses and meeting a new business owner. Like, what's work for you? I go to all kind of different charity events, and when you're at charity events, there's other businesses there. So I'm like, hey, I drove a Jeep here, but I also am a CXO. Well, what's a CXO? Well, this is what we do. Well, what do you do? How's your business? What are the obstacles that you see in your industry? How's the economy? And you just meet people over and over, and those turn from acquaintances to actual relationships where they'll open up and say, hey, we've tried this, it failed. We tried this, it won. This was the most impactful. But there is value in finding out what's going on across industries. The number one objection I get when I talk to another industry is they'll kind of look at my past and they're like, well, you've never worked in healthcare. You've never been in healthcare. You know what my answer is neither of the people that have paid you and are staying at you. They have no idea what's going on as a patient or a customer coming in. I'm not here to be an expert in your business. That's your job. My job is to be an expert for the customer, and let's figure out how we deliver what they want, because
Wow.
that's truly the lens that I think we get trapped in, is we looking at it from our bubble, our business. Outsiders don't know what we're doing. What are you talking about? But the very customers that you're trying to bring in don't understand your business either. So I'm the expert and the customer advocate for them so that you can build your business around that.
Dude, mic drop. That's great. That's a great response of just like, hey, neither is your customer, right? Like nobody cares about your business. They care about what you're not doing for the client. Right.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's 100% it. I love that, man. And you mentioned something that I think is a universality that has really worked for me in my life. That being involved in charities very quickly, I realized that like the most influential people in town are on the boards of charities. So getting involved in charities is a shortcut to influential people. I see your Jeep club, right? Like being a Jeep enthusiast is not a cheap hobby. Right. So
It's
you're
not.
so you're at least dealing with people that know how to fund a very expensive hobby, and
Yep.
there's real things in there. I think property managers, they have the low-hanging fruit of like go network with the real estate investing community, man.
Yeah.
Like it's like be out there in the world talking to real estate investors
Yep.
who, by the way, are your ideal client, right? Like they
Yep.
want these kinds of people, and even it'll teach you to become one, and that's something, or the charity thing, or whatever, right? Like get involved in a watering hole of people that have proven that they are, I don't want to just use the word affluent, but they've just proven capable of more than just the basic, right?
Yeah.
Like whether it's caring about a charity or it's a Jeep club or it's real estate investing, like it's all people that like deliberately have gotten involved in something that isn't just at the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy or the top two rungs.
Yep.
I think is a major unlock. That's cool,
Yeah,
man.
I'll tell you, like in the kind of where the property management cross industry here in Tampa, that has just been something that really opened up cross industry world to me. Is there's this place called the Motor Enclave. It's a 1.7 mile track. They have 300 garage condos. So essentially, you don't buy a condo to
Yeah.
live there. You buy it to park your very expensive car there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, it's a huge venue, and they tapped us to do a Jeep event there. We did it, but then that put me in the world of these garage owners that own business. They own a ton of real estate. They're all about investing. So I'm like, everybody else is out there running ads. I showed up here on 40s in my fun Jeep, and I'm standing in front of some of the most passionate real estate investors there probably is out there. I mean, there's A-list movie stars that are there. I can't say the name out loud, but you've probably seen an attorney ad from him about 3 times a day.
Yeah.
He's there. And, that kind of influence and being around those people open up the door. They open up your mind to the next opportunity. And that's the way I look at it. It's like just put yourself in the right place and talk to those people, build relationships versus trapping yourself in one single bubble will
Yeah.
open up the CX design and mindset that we need to move to across the board.
I love it. I love it, man. Have you thought deeply about what the future org chart of a property manager looks like?
I'm actually working through that with a couple PM clients because again, they're doing what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
I heard this the other day. We need to install this. I'm a huge advocate of having a salesperson, but I'm also the biggest proponent of it being called a business development manager. When
Mhm.
I was running it, it should have been a when I had it was a client success manager, right? Like I'm bringing you on to be success. I'm not just trying to get business. So from an org chart standpoint, I still believe you need to have that visionary and integrator type of positions. They should be there. But you should have your accounting, you should have your maintenance, you should have, that single point of contact if somebody's calling in. But I think the missing layer that we're going to see develop over the coming years is a VP of experience. Literally that person that all day, every day is looking inside of every moment that's happening, every positive experience, every negative experience. They're saying, okay, we've done this good for 2 years. Let's get really good at this and evaluating that. So that's where the CXO type of position, I think, will be something you see in the future that is the bridge between your staff and your leadership level, because they're going to be the ones that are going to be in the room and you can beep this out, but be the assholes that say, no, we shouldn't do that because it is going to make our customer journey harder, more difficult, install friction. You need that person that's going to disrupt in the middle of what your basic org chart looks like up to your leadership team.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. When I first got into the community creation for business development kind of like mission, my first idea was like every company in the future is going to have a chief executive connector, right? Like there's going to be somebody that's there, the community builder is the one that's like looking for these synergies between clients with each other, our network, like these kinds of things, the community builder. And I find it really important to my old podcast, not this one, was originally called Chief Executive Connector. Eventually it became the B2B Community Builder. I did, I think, 249 episodes before I just went all in with Vendoroo and I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm going to apply all this stuff to here. But over time, I realized that title already exists, and it was the chief evangelist, right? Like that was already kind of there, right? Or at least there was a umbrella that this role could exist under that fit close enough, right? Which is why my title is the chief evangelist at Vendoroo. And this idea of a chief experience officer to me feels somewhat similar, right? Like I can't
Mhm.
help but think that Reza, our founder, after our last offsite, was just like, "Yo, dude, you know what? Like, you're really good at being out there and connecting with the market and understanding, right? Like I describe the chief evangelist as the tip of the spear on our point of view, right? Like I need to live in market. I need to know people. I need to know what's valuable to them. I need to be able to like respond back in words that they echo what's valuable to them and what their problems are. So I can then weave a
Yep.
story of a narrative that they echo with that becomes a bat signal that everybody wants to unite under that allows me to create a movement with this community and blah, 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 right?
Yep.
Reza, after our last ops, I was like, hey man, you're doing all of this with messaging. Why aren't you doing this with experience? Like your superpower is empathy, right? Like so why aren't you doing that in our product? And why aren't you doing? I'm like, God damn it, Reza. Yeah, you're right. I should be doing more of this. And I've been really leaning into it this quarter,
Yeah.
right? Like that's where this insight of like the AI coach came from. And it takes me back to the first time that I started talking about what the future org chart is with Stacy Salyer. And, we were just kind of talking. I'm like, all right, if the future is, AI is automating the mundane stuff and you need less people, it really will be, you need somebody that's an expert in maintenance that can then kind of like handle all the maintenance super powered by AI and like have like a very strong vendor network and just be like a domain expert there. You need a like a BDR that's like a community builder. Like you are out there organizing events and doing these kinds of things. And
Yep.
yes, and then you need like an insights person that is attending these events, taking them. You need that chief experience officer, right? That designs a unique customer experience because if the tasks being done get commoditized, now it's like what's the differentiator? And one of the big differentiation levels you can have is the experience you provide. So like you could be the property manager that is the most dog friendly resident property manager in town, and you're having events of like you have a mobile grooming cart or a mobile dog
Yep.
park and you got all this, like, and the gifts that you're doing, right? Like, and
Yep.
you can really design your entire company around what the insights of this chief experience officer is that like integrates it along with the
Yep.
thing. So like, yeah.
And like on that, I want to this is where the CXO visionary mindset is going to like really kick in. Is when you were saying
Please.
if you are the most dog friendly property management company, you've got 500 properties under management, 1,500 residents. You need somebody to pick up the phone and call Chewy and say, "Hey, Chewy, we would love for y'all to sponsor our property management company, and part of that package is we send some free gifts out to every dog owner in our community." So you don't have to spend more money. You just got to spend time and you leverage that. And again, kind of using this from what I've learned from the Jeep Club is build your brand around your identity of who you want to be and that fun and flavor because people are going to love that. And then your eyeballs and that data is actually worth something. So call somebody local and make them part of that vision too that costs you nothing. Could actually even be the other way where they pay you to
Yes.
market to those eyeballs.
Yeah, you want to talk about how you pay for this? If you develop enough of an identity, you can Huck Finn this thing. People can paint your fence for you, man.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
yeah, I love it, man. Yeah, that's it right there, Reese. Like that mentality is the thing that I feel like I'm like that I love about you without even knowing you, right? Like to me,
Yep.
like that is kind of like I very much echo with
Yep.
that. Man.
So one question I'm going to ask you, I'm going to turn this a little
I was
bit.
about to ask you anything you want to ask or anything
Yeah.
else. Yeah,
So, we talk about community and how we're building that. And if you look at it from an industry standpoint, we
yeah,
have those communities. Rent Scale was a salesperson community. You've got
yeah,
Crane that's out there
yeah.
as, a property owner and does a little
Yeah,
bit of
yeah. I'm super impressed with how Crane is building community. I just
yeah,
met with her the other day. Yeah, yeah.
they've done a cult process. We'll give them the
Unbelievably
credit.
well done. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievably well done. Yeah.
So here's what I always ask is Pablo, how many property management companies do you know that have an owner community that all the owners of their properties get to actually talk to each other?
You mean apart from the one I built for JWB?
They see there's like 1% out there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And how valuable was that?
It's unbelievably valuable. It has completely changed their business. Mark Ainley's business has completely changed because he's cultivated that, right? Like,
Yep.
yes, 100%. 100%.
So the other 99%, and this is kind of the path I go down when I talk to property management companies, as soon as I mention that, they're like, whoa, all they're going to do is complain and talk bad about us. And that's my key to say, then you don't have the right customer experience.
Mm.
Because if your customer experience is right, you're going to put all of them in a room so they're not on an island talking to other investors, talking strategy. So now they're part of your cult. And that's going to force you to be better. So the ones that are afraid of that is a clear sign that they're not doing the right things. But the ones that embrace that, at the very least, they have the right mindset. They're open to direct feedback. So if they've got 10 people in that community that are saying the same thing, it ain't the community, it's your business. So turn around and fix it because that community's telling you what they want.
Do you, or like, if somebody has a problem with you, would you rather know or not know? If you're a
Exactly.
business owner that rather not know, you're not going to be in business very long.
Yep.
Right.
The faster
So,
you get feedback, the faster you can correct and move past your competitors.
and if you create a channel where they feel comfortable enough giving you the feedback first before they give it to Google, it's better for you, bro.
Yep. Yep. You got
100%.
it's just you got to disrupt. You got to open that door because your customers are really the fuel for your growth. And if you don't know what they're wanting, how they feel, you can't just design a business around what you think. It's not going to get to the level that you truly want to. And I honestly, frankly, that's why I see a lot of property management companies plateau is they get to a certain door growth and they're like, okay, now what? Like we're not net new anymore.
I'm just going to be really vulnerable right now and say I agree with you 100%. And after keynoting broker owner in 2024, I had that insight, but I could not figure out how to create a business model that was able to service that need, right? Like I know how to create an owner community. I've been able to do it for like 2 to 3 clients at a time, right? Like it's what I was telling you earlier, right? Like I don't know how to take on a client without it looking like I'm like one of the owners of the company,
Right.
right? So I don't know how to scale that. Like I don't know how to scale providing that service to people. And and that is one of the reasons why I chose. I'm like, well, I can, I still have my company. I still have that as like my laboratory for how I build community. But it's one of the big reasons I chose to, oh, I can take all this skill set, point it into this like moment with Vendoroo where it's a Silicon Valley backed, venture capital, like maybe I get rich because of all of this stuff. And more importantly, I think if I take a company into like the unicorn status based on my beliefs, then that gives me the platform to really share these beliefs at another level than hitting a home run here and there for smaller businesses. How do you think about that with your company, man? Like, are you, like I see you as a missionary, so it feels like the work is more important than the outcome. But what's the future of works? Like, how do you see this becoming a scalable business, or how big do you want to scale it?
Yeah. So funny you asked that. It's almost like I teed you up for this. We're actually going to launch a school community here in the next week, and it's going to be called the CX Cult because you're going to have some people, and Brandon and Travis at Home Ladder out in Gilbert, Arizona, are probably like I work with them at Rent Scale. It's probably the epitome of what I'm talking about here. But they have the mindset already. They're just looking for more ideas and be a part of everybody being behind that. But also putting them in the room, they don't need a CXO. They already have a CXO installed. They
Mm-hmm.
just need to be in a room where other CXOs are talking about customer experience. So what we're going to do is launch a CX cult on school that's just that community of people to be able to come in and talk what CX looks like from all different industries. Should somebody say, you know what, all this is great, but I am struggling, I don't know how to actually get this installed.
Yeah.
That's where those one-off where we work with certain companies and I want to provide CXO positions to companies around the country. I want to
Yeah.
provide opportunities for other people to have the mindsets to work with 5 or 10 companies within their market that make them not just good companies, but market leaders that everybody across the country talks about. So my goal is not only to do well for myself, but I want to provide opportunities for other people that sit in that same space.
I would like to help you get the word out on your CXO community in any way I can, man.
Awesome. I
Yeah,
appreciate
just
that. Yeah.
just saying.
So,
So whenever
uh,
that's ready, I mean, I
yeah.
don't know, I don't know if there's a link you want to announce right now, but like, I'm happy to put the full force of everything that we do, right? Like behind kind of like getting that out there. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. I think it'll just, get everybody a minimum, I'm listening to my customers, a minimal entry to get that. We're looking at $99 a month. That's one customer doing business with you to get the return. You get five, you 5 extra return. So
Yeah.
we're going to actually launch that next week. So what I'll do is I will get a video launch out there. We may even have a launch webinar I invite you over to with some of the people
Yeah.
that I'm working with. so
That'd be
people
great.
can hear about that and get involved. We're going to be doing all kind of courses inside of that. I don't want to get too deep into it, but what does
Yeah.
your social media experience looks
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
all of those different elements.
Yeah. I'm happy to teach my framework of the community building piece within that as well. If
Awesome.
you like. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
For sure.
Appreciate you, Pablo.
Cool, man. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, man, this is all exciting. Every time I get talking with a client, I feel like my blood pressure goes to like 150. Like it just feels good. It's
Yeah.
just our motto at CXO Works is the relentless pursuit of ridiculous delight. And like I live by that. It's a sickness when I walk into any type of business. Like I go into work mode, like, what does that look like? Is that product where it is? Well, how was the staff when they greeted me? What was the service like after I bought it? Did they call me later to check on it? So it is a little bit of sick obsession, and I enjoy every moment I get to talk about it.
As somebody who has I struggled for a long time to find passion in my work, right? Like I think my biggest fear for a long time was that I was just never going to love working, right? That I was just kind of showing up with just enough talent to fall upwards and all these kinds of things. And I feel really lucky that I found it, and I feel really lucky that I get to do work that really fills my bucket. And I'm I tell people, I'm like, I don't know how good of an entrepreneur I am, but I am getting paid to be myself, which to me
Yeah.
is pretty awesome, right? And
Yeah.
and I see that in you, and I think it's really really cool, man. Like I like your energy really comes across as like you're a missionary doing the best work of your life, and you can't help but cheer for like what you're up for, man. So I hope that this is the beginning of like a long friendship, and that that you get to see everything that you've thought that you could do in the world happen, man. I'm really cheering for you.
I appreciate that, Pablo. And same on the side. I hope that, you keep doing what you love and the money will follow, right? Like if you do
Agreed.
what you love, everything else will follow and you're impacting people's lives at the end of the day.